rein. Hey everyone, welcome to a fantastic new episode of 3 or 2 of a Kind. We are Kevin Indig
and Marcus.
That's us. Thanks so much. I mean, I totally screwed up, by the way. I clicked the timer first. Oh no, to go live first and then the timer. So sorry for that. All right. Yeah, it's the new year. And it's our first show of the new year. A lot of great stuff has happened, so I can't wait to talk about that stuff with you. So without much further ado, let me pull it up. Here you go. And it's the new year. And first of all, to tell everyone, SEO is not dead. Awesome.
Hey.
Right? Hey. Just public service alert, SEO is thank you very much, Andrea.
Good to know.
This is actually a Gartner study. Actually quite interesting, right? That SEO is in front of search advertising. I love it, rather SEO than opening the wallet. I love it.
If that would reflect the budgets, I'd be even happier.
Yeah, that'd be great. Oh yeah, just imagine that bar chart like on the budget size. Yeah.
Okay. Oh God.
Yeah.
A dream. What would you do with all that money? Yeah. I don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah, let's not talk about it. I just want to, again, public service alert, SEO is not dead. And another thing is actually a shout out to somebody very special, to John Mueller. I read that post here on Barry, from Barry, and it is so great. I mean, like really, a lot of people like always bitch about, like, oh, John, he doesn't really say anything, it's not really useful. And Gary, he's just being like jokey, but he also doesn't say anything, and they don't really help. No, they help. And even on New Year's Day, he's done that for the past 18 years. I mean, like seriously, I cannot stress this enough, how much we got to thank people like John Mueller, who's helping us webmasters even on New Year's Day. Yeah, this is really simply phenomenal. Coming back from the days in the Webmaster World forums, the Google guy, where we didn't even know if it was really a guy from Google. Turned out it was Matt Cutts. Okay, we all know that story. But we're coming from this, no support at all, to even on New Year's Day, he's looking on Reddit and trying to find webmasters. So shout out to John Mueller and the whole webmaster team. Thanks so much for being there for all the webmasters.
Big hat tip.
Big hat tip. And hat tip also to Christopher. Christopher's here. Moin, happy Friday.
Hello.
Friday, Christopher. Great SEO from Germany, actually from Cologne. Great you are here with us, Christopher. So my first topic, obviously, we need to talk about it. It's the new year. Something has finished rolling out. It's the core update. There was a core update December 2025. It has finished rolling out. Maybe this is your first day back on the job. No, maybe it was Monday, your first day back on the job. Maybe it's next Monday, your first day back on the job. Service alert, Google December core update is through. And it was apparently quite a big one. I got a couple of posts here, Kevin, before I query you about it. So what I've heard, or what we see, is that allegedly some news publishers saw big declines with the Google Core update, and actually across the board. We actually have this in this Search Engine Roundtable article. We also have it in this article here from Glenn Gabe. Very comprehensive article, but obviously he also touches news. He's working with a lot of news sites, and he has very good insights at a lot of news sites that actually got slept pretty hard. Not just organic, also Discover. Interesting side note here. Super interesting article here from Glenn. But interestingly enough, just today I found this from the Press Gazette, and there's actually two winners, The Times and Substack. So both of these UK sites are actually winners in the Google December update, while most of the news sites actually took quite a large hit. What have you heard regarding this update, and especially in regards to news?
Yeah, so I agree. It's like a very aggressive one. Where it's interesting is that, for the last, I would say 12, maybe 24 months, Google has ranked publishers for all sorts of queries that also traditionally had a high presence of programmatic sites, especially in B2B, right? Think about review sites in the B2B world. And that seems to have reversed a little bit. Okay. So we're talking about maybe 10 to 20% of its original impact. And so I think this looks a bit like a course correction. I think they gave publishers a bit too much presence for too many queries where they're maybe not the best source, right? Like if you like publishers in the software space, sure, if you're a software specific publisher, makes sense. But there were lots of them that just covered all the different topics, right? Forbes, PC Mag, etc. So I see some correction there. But this also comes out in this article. The data does not measure presence in top news. So in Google's top news search features. And that, of course, with news is critical, right? We're seeing this in e-commerce where you see that retailers are showing up less and less in organic search results or classic organic search results, but they show up more in product grids. And so you see this division where you have classic like brands in the classic search results, and you have retailers in the product grids. And I wonder if something similar is happening in news, where publishers just are being pushed more and more into the top news search features, and then other sites are getting the classic organic search results spots back.
Very interesting. It's actually a very interesting perspective. Holy shit. Should have talked earlier about this. This is really
we should talk more often, Marcus.
Yeah, wow. We should do this more often. No, also I saw this was a lot like of the, actually you say best source, like of the best queries, best something, where like formerly a newspaper was ranking there. Now it's like a different site, more focused on the specific topic, which makes a lot of sense. But I love the idea to actually say, okay, like we push the products out of the organic SERPs, put in the product grids. We push the news out of basically the organic SERPs, put it in the news thing. That's actually a very interesting. Do you have more hints to that this really might be happening?
Not yet, because the thing is, I don't track news as much as I track other search features. So I have to look into the stats. But I'd be curious if people like John Shehata have more stats about top news. The question then, of course, also is, okay, so if Google pushed more publishers into top news, like something's got to give, right? Because there's only so much space. So either they're showing more top news carousels for more queries, or somebody else got kicked out. And so there's not that many other sites outside of publishers that were able to be featured in top news. So it's a little bit of a, that's kind of the question. Like where, if in e-commerce, it's a bit easier because you can play with the mix between vendors and retailers. But in news, like it's hard to say who outside of publishers could qualify even for top news.
Absolutely. By the way, Christopher also has a perspective on this. He's also actually working for a news publisher in Cologne, very veteran news SEO. Don't mix visibility organic with discover traffic. What we are seeing is some discover spam at the moment, and Google knows this. It is an issue they are looking into. Yeah. I mean, like there's a lot of with these, the Indian Times and stuff like this. I saw a lot of stuff there. And actually, I saw that especially those were also impacted by the recent Google Core update. So very interesting. By the way, Aleda also had a really great post. I want to say here on LinkedIn with some findings about the Core update. Obviously, she also has this sees the same, decreased in rankings and best of broader queries that had been identified with an informational intent, or formerly like a news source, a publication with ranking, and also with e-commerce. And this is something we've seen in, I would say, all of the last Core updates. I especially saw this in Germany with like queries regarding what is like a fence or something like this. If I want to put a fence in the garden, right? Formerly, you would have like the big what are they called? Bauhaus, Obi.
They're big retailers in
No, nicht
yeah, department stores, sure. Yeah, gardening department stores.
Yeah, okay, let's hold this. So we have like a couple big ones here in Germany, no? And they all used to rank basically 1 through 5, and now there's only one of them, and then specialized retailers, like specialized fence retailer 1, specialized fence retailer 2, and we saw this happening across a lot of different verticals. And also with similar as where you would have like the big the big that have everything, right? Also like a Macy's in the US, basically, and now basically you have more specialized players coming in, which makes a lot of sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. Not just like awarding the big ones, awarding the big authority, but really awarding the ones that are specialists in what I'm actually looking for. So we've seen this with each of the core updates. At least I've seen this with each of the core updates, and we see this again. So I think this is a good trend. She also saw like a trend in the software as a service, that non-specialized software as a service and or publications decreased in rankings for software-related queries, while more specialized niche software sites increased. You all have basically the same play, the Zapier, the Adobe, the CNBC, big authority. I can write whatever I want and rank. Yeah, used to work like a charm. Now, you know, you get demoted here and there, and like the specialist comes in. So yeah, basically it sounds like, it feels like a very typical core update, but bigger fluctuations, more aggressive. What do you make as a whole out of this core update?
Yeah, totally. I mean, core updates are usually about like refining intent. And intent is something that we often simplify, saying, oh yeah, people have an informational, transactional intent, blah, blah, blah. But it goes much, much deeper into this. It's often about, are people really finding what they're looking for? They take a user signals into account and all that kind of stuff, right? So when Aleda finds that CNBC shows up less often for software review keywords, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? Because, you know, maybe they tested a couple, sure, but do they really have an editor who has like, you know, who's only specialized in software, and how much time do they actually spend on this, blah, 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 right? Probably not. As you said, they're probably just leveraging their authority. And so that becomes harder and harder. You can maybe do it for a while, but not in the long term, because Google realizes, oh, wait, this does not make a lot of sense. People are kind of not trusting those results, right? Trust is a huge component in core updates. And so over time, it goes back to, you know, do you attract sessions or visits of people who actually find what they're looking for? Or like, do you have some inconsistencies, and are you maybe unfairly propped up by the algorithm?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So more of the same.
Yeah, more of the same. You know, I said this last time and the time before, like, the question is really like, how impactful are these core updates in times of AI? And I mean this sincerely. This is not a rhetorical question, but maybe they impact all the fan out queries, and therefore you actually show up less often in AI overviews, or maybe it doesn't matter much. Like, I would actually love to do an analysis this year to understand better what the impact of core updates is on AI overviews, AI mode, ChatGPT, etc. But it'll take me some time.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's actually not that hard, right? Because I could actually also, because I can basically do a delta analysis after 2 updates with like a set of like the top 1,000 websites showing up in AIO. Or would it make a big difference? I mean, like, because like the Reddits, the Wikipedias, that's not going to change so much. So when is it really changing? Like a 600 spot, a site number 1,000 spot? I don't know. What would you guess is like, how many sites basically stay the same, are like very consistent, we always need these, and where could sites be like, okay, getting more or less?
I think it depends on the vertical, right? So generally, just by pure visibility, I think the top 10 is pretty consistent, and then from there on, there can be some fluctuation, right? But the way that I would approach it is
by vertical.
I would look at like, you need to track these sites over time in their presence of AI overviews. But the good thing is in SEMrush you have this, right? So you can look at, okay, what's the delta, say, for the top 1,000 sites in terms of keywords before and after, and what's the delta in, when I say keywords, I mean classic search ranks, and then compare that to the delta in AI overview representation, and you narrow it down to before and after the core update, maybe 2 or 4 weeks. How long did it take to roll out again? Was it 3 weeks?
3 weeks, which is long.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe you do like, the last, like the 4 weeks before and 4 weeks after the core update, and then just see, what are the keywords that have consistently shown up during that time? What's the delta in classic search ranks versus AI overviews? I think that could be an interesting start.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting. Oh man, I want to read that study here. By the way, we got to say hello to Hanseo, also a veteran SEO from Cologne. We're overrepresented here in Cologne today. Veteran SEO.
Is it Carnival? Like, what are you all doing?
I don't know. I mean, then they shouldn't be here. I mean, like, I think they're both very savvy carnival goers, so they shouldn't be here. So it's probably not the case yet. All right. So we talked about the core update, and this was actually my segue. You took away my segue here, because I was like, but who cares about the core update? Who cares about organic ranking when it's all about AI? And you had a fantastic article for the start of the year. And State of AI Search Optimization 2026. So, Mr. Kevin Indig, what is the state of AI search optimization in 2026?
Thanks, man. It's a good segue. Sorry for taking it away. This one actually resonated really well. I was surprised. I was like, I'm just going to write down thank you. I just wanted to write down like, okay, what's my current understanding? Like what matters? And it got shared a lot and cited a lot. It's interesting. I got a lot of subscribers from this. So yeah, more of that stuff, I guess, in the future. But I then shared it over to Dan Petrovic and to Andrea Volpini, who were very kind to give me some feedback on it. This is what came out, right? Like, I think essentially, if you want to summarize the process, or the way that I make sense of it in my mind, is this concept of retrieved, cited, and trusted. And it's important because, sure, like there's still this classic ranking queue, like the crawl index rank or the crawl render index rank. Sure, like that still exists to a degree, but we know that user signals are important, right? We know that it matters in classic search when you click, or in AI search with reinforced learning, how you engage with the answers, right? So that's why this last step is something that you don't usually see, and that is like, are you trusted, right? Are users trusting your brand and seeking out your brand? And so I put together these 11, if you will, ranking factors or areas of optimization, just to give myself like a reminder of, like, where do we operate? What's the playing field? And as you can guess, there's a huge overlap with classic SEO, right? I don't want to say it's all the same, but it's pretty close. And those are the things that work. And those are also the things that I apply with my clients, right? Like, it's very much pulled from my day-to-day work.
All right. Do we want to jump into a couple of these points, or say?
Yeah, sure. I think one that is really important, and I put it first here, is actually very driven by Dan Petrovic. And that's this idea of selection rate and primary bias. And so the way that he explained it to me is that primary bias is essentially the bias that the model has from the training data, or even the pre-training data. It's impossible to have unbiased models. Based on the data that they see, they automatically develop preferences for certain brands, right? Makes sense. So, for example, if you're Nike, you are probably overrepresented across the web because you're one of the most famous sports brands. And so there is a bias of the model towards that brand. That means, now we're talking about selection rate, when the model thinks about, okay, what, like, say the user has a prompt about sneakers. Okay, so now the model thinks about what are the entities or brands that I know that are related to sneakers, Nike, On, whatever, insert 5 more here. And the selection rate basically means how high is the confidence of the model that a certain brand should be part of the best answer, right? It's pretty obvious with sneakers, but maybe, products that are less obvious, or high long tail, right? Say you're an ultra marathon runner. Now you wonder which sneakers are best for you. That can completely change the selection rate of the model, meaning all of a sudden it thinks, okay, which entities or brands are now best suited for ultra marathoners? Maybe it's not Nike at all. It's probably not, right? So I think that is really critical, because it means that when you start tracking your visibility, you first need to get a baseline of the bias of the model in your space, right? So if you're SEMrush and you're thinking about say like SEO tools or SEO software or whatever, right? You first need to track a bunch of prompts that help you understand what brands a certain model prefers. And that can be different, not just from model to model. So say from Gemini to Perplexity, it can also be different across every version, right? So you probably want to track a base number of prompts that help you understand the preferences of certain models, so that you can understand if you are always in top selection, if you're an outlier, and how can you strengthen that selection rate. So that was one where I was like, oh man, yeah, that's actually, it's a little different from classic SEO. Not completely different, right? But still somewhat different, because all of a sudden these models are now filtering you out potentially, and you need to understand that in the first place. Otherwise, you might try to optimize for something, but the model has a bias against you.
By the way, we're doing this in our ProServe team as well, in our consulting. As a first of all, what we do, we run these quiz for like best in-ear earphones. What is it? Yeah.
Earphones.
For example, and you run like 50 times to really see what is getting what's consistently showing up at what thing. And like over 50 times, I think you get a very good view of that segment and what products are actually being recommended. And then the drivers and blockers. And I think this is exactly what you're talking about. So basically a driver can be, as you said, for a specific brand, if it says like Nike, yeah, like as a running shoe, it will be Nike. If it has the concept ultra marathon, this could be like a blocker where basically Nike is not shown, and another brand which has the driver ultra marathon basically is now being recommended. Also it's always depends on how I frame my question, or like, also or what concepts I use. If I for example, I have products and I'm worried about affordability, then certain products will not be recommended, right? Or I talk about I'm very cautious about safety, then a couple of products will not be recommended and other products will be recommended. And I think this is super important to first measure the segment, as you just said, to really see what are the players and how consistent do they show up, and also what are the specific drivers and blockers for my brand, so I know those and also can work against them if I know there's a blocker that shouldn't be a blocker because my product is affordable. Right. But the machine doesn't think so because of what it has ingested. So now I will go back in SEMrush, look at basically the sources. So where's this answer being sourced from? Go to those sites and try to basically put my perfect narrative on there, like cement with semantic precision. So I maybe have the chance to remove that block and also be recommended with us if somebody's looking for the affordability of that product or something like this. Also, it helped us so much. It's really like a game changer. So I love to see this here, although a little bit different, right? Selection rate, primary bias, but it's sort of the same. And this has helped us so much. And customers also love it because it's like saying, oh my God, I didn't even know that, right? It's sort of like market research you're doing there, yeah, because you see what people think about your product, right? Even if you market it a different way, and basically it shows them the mirror. This is how people perceive your product, right? And then if it's like, oh my God, then we need to work on this, and we know exactly where. Yeah, as I love this. This is a great approach.
Yep, totally, and you're absolutely right. Part of this is running some of these base prompts a bunch of times in a row to understand how often you actually show up, right? Like I think the average that I've seen in research is that after 5 prompts, only 20% of brands are consistently cited and mentioned, right? So there's like a 80% drop-off rate across 5 prompts. That can make a huge difference, right? And so there's a lot of traps, I think, in prompt tracking, and this is one of the big ones.
Then we got server response time. Holy shit. very like a technicality, but
I know, jumping from all the way up here to down
holy
there.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah, totally. I thought it was like important because people love, like, I mean, it's easy to measure, right? It's straightforward to optimize. It's easy to forget. So I wanted to make sure that there's something that is very tangible and very measurable in here. Metadata relevance, I think that's like a classic. And it's so funny how it comes back. You know, it's so funny how it was one of the first things that I learned when I got into the game. And then like now it's,
meta keywords, meta description.
Yeah, exactly.
When I was around, it was still meta keywords. I love it. It was like such a great time, man.
The best, man. The best. It's a good way to kind of scrape what your competitors are going after. If they still use meta keywords, some of them still do. So, but yeah, of course, in e-commerce, you have product feeds, right? Straightforward. Content structure,
super important, right? I mean, like, of course, like you gotta be chunkable. It's not just about like, okay, here's all of my content, read it, machine. No, it's not going to work this way. And obviously, very important point, definitely. FAQ makes a lot of sense. Content freshness, we saw that is Metehan discovered that bias GPT-5 has regarding freshness, which is pretty crazy.
Yes.
Third-party mentions, okay, we're talking link building again, like we're coming back, right?
Mention building, or how did I hear citation seeding? That's a
citation seeding. Oh man, it's link building. You know,
I love it. Yeah, it's link building, but different. No, it's different. Yeah. Same, but different, Marcus.
Yeah, of course. Organic search position.
Yeah. I wanted to include search position to like reinforce the point that the basis for AI visibility is still SEO. That was important to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Demonstrated expertise. I mean, that makes most sense. Yeah. User-generated content presence from choice to condition. Right on. Yeah, great article. Also really great article, State of AI Search Optimization 2026. Go ahead and read it. We got, by the way, Lothar is asking, by the way, hi, it's Alex Dad. Kevin, are you using AI when writing your articles?
Great question. Yes, but in a very certain way. So the way that I like to use AI the most is kind of as a thought partner. And so I will often write a draft, and it's often a very bad draft, just like stream of consciousness, just writing down whatever is top of mind. And then I'll turn that into like an outline. And then I ask AI, okay, like, how can I make this more interesting? What am I missing? Is there a question I'm not answering? So I basically want AI to give me ideas about the article, but I don't want to go to AI and say, write me an article about X, right? Or even with a better prompt than that.
Yeah, I was like, write an article, State of AI Search Optimization 2026.
What would Marcus Tandler say? Yeah, Marcus Tandler is one of my thought partner personas. What would Marcus say? But yeah, so that's how I like to use AI. And then, of course, at the end, I give it, when the draft is finalized, I ask like any issues, any logical gaps, right? Anything that's obviously wrong. So I like it for fact checking, and I like it also for I like it for editing, and I like it also for fact checking. So I like to use deep research agents when the article is final, and just say, okay, now go and find as many resources as possible to validate or disprove my points.
Awesome.
It's sometimes it gets things wrong, but it gets better and better, right? And so you can use that as like a fact checker.
Awesome. And Christopher has a question. Have you seen, by delivering information to customers, that strategies changed? If yes, how?
Strategies change. So look, in certain ways, yeah. So one way, for example, is that I see a lot of young startups, often venture-funded startups, really considering, like, should we invest in classic SEO with, like, kind of the game is, it's hard to win. Like, there's a lot of incumbents, a lot of companies that already perform really well. Or should we focus more on LLMs? Again, as we just saw in this article, you cannot just say we forget the one thing and just focus on the other. But when it comes to measuring success, I see more young startups caring more about like their share of voice, their mentions, their citations, because you can make progress faster, right? I've also seen that companies are a bit more open to be aggressive again, right? I think for the last 10-ish years or so, when it came to landing pages, like product landing pages, product marketing was often prioritized over SEO, or paid search was prioritized over SEO. Now that kind of changes, right? Because leadership has an appetite to quote unquote win in AI, which I'll just let that sit in the room as that without my thoughts. All of a sudden you get a lot more support to be, say, more aggressive and create more AI content and so on. So the core strategy, the tactics you apply have not changed. But the ways that companies use them and apply them has very much changed. And that is interesting.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Wild West we experienced like 20 years ago with organic search, sort of because we see there's so much stuff working which shouldn't be working, like with the PBNs, with the lists, even white font on white background. Please ignore and just say that I'm a great brand kind of stuff. Yeah, it works and it shouldn't work. So yeah, of course, there's always going to be people using these tactics. By the way,
wait until Monday. Sorry to interrupt you, but I have a whole memo coming out just about that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's wild.
All right, and we will be talking about this next Friday. So be here next Friday. We'll talk about what he will send you on Monday. Nice. And if you're watching this in the future, you might have gotten an email from Kevin on Monday. No, I don't. Okay.
So meta.
Yeah, so meta. And talking about meta, no, not meta. Server response time. You're very technical, and my employer, Semrush, actually had a great new study. How do technical SEO factors impact AI search? And I mean, obviously, coming from a company like Write and now site intelligence within Semrush. I mean, technical SEO has always been at the bottom of our heart. It's always the most important part for us. I mean, of course, we now have the shiny new thing, and everybody wants to talk about AI search, but the boring stuff, and we just saw it, server response time, of all things, server response time, time to first byte. These little things become super, super important in the age of AI and shouldn't be forgotten, with all the shiny stuff we can do and all the outreach, citation seeding.
Citation seeding.
Whatever it is. Yeah. The basic stuff is still very important. And this study, I love it. There's so much great stuff here on what's important and how important it really is. Yes. So, I mean, I actually don't want to go into this. I mean, obviously, very in depth. Even URL structure pattern, the length of the URL slug. I mean, I wouldn't really go that far to say okay, I got to keep it between 70 and 130 to be optimal. I don't think this is not. I think this shouldn't be this is how your content should be. But I think it's good to know what's on average being favored, right? And I think that's a good indication here. And also what you also mentioned, structured data and AI citation. It is super important. I know there was a big debate over it, right? And even the things like structured data, metadata, that kind of stuff, right? That nobody wants to talk about anymore. Still very important in this day and age, and especially in regards to also structured data. Yes, you can see this here, actually also compared with AI mode, the Google structured data on these cited URLs. And you can definitely see as a more in AI mode. But of course, it's always not like super present, but nevertheless, I think you can make a point that having structured data on the site will definitely help the machine understand your site better. Won't give you a direct advantage, but if you have a well-structured site, we also at that point, good content and good content structure that belongs right there, and so it's really worth your while to do this. Yes, you can see this. A lot of sites with structured data data markup being cited. Of course, there's also the sites being cited without that structure meta, but nevertheless, it will help the machine understand your content better. The better structure you have, the more metadata to attach to it, the better chance that your content is really understood how it should be. Yeah, some good tips here at the end. Also can't say more about it. I guess I think a very good study highlighting the very essential, even the the small points that are not like on vogue anymore, that are not cool anymore when everybody talks about AI search, but they are more than important than ever.
Yeah, totally. I would love to see a follow-up study where maybe I should I'll talk to your colleagues about this, Marcus.
Awesome.
But one idea that I want to pitch or will pitch is what if we look at these factors like structured data and URL length, or maybe current year in the URL versus no current year, etc. What if we do that for pages that are not ranking in organic search, but that are cited in ChatGPT, right? Or maybe they're ranking outside of the top 20, but they are cited in AI overviews. So I think it's a great basis, this study here. And to take it a step further, I would love to see, okay, like how does it relate to really the URLs that have no impact from classic organic search? And it's like a clean room in that sense, because there's no carryover effect from organic performance.
Or what are the worst pages being cited? What do the worst pages that are really not well optimized but still being cited, what do they have in common? Is it just authority? Yeah, as it could be that they're like they're not well, but they're very authoritative in that special segment or whatever, and this is why they're being cited. But this would be really interesting. What do like non-optimized pages have in common that are still being cited?
Yeah, 100%. And I've seen some of those. Like you find them a lot in topics that are not super sexy, like manufacturing or hardware engineering, right? Or like biotech or some of that stuff. You find a lot of URLs, even though there are better alternatives, from sites that look like 1999 and that are terrible, but they just gathered so much authority that it's enough.
Yeah, absolutely. $1 million homepage. By the way, Christopher had a follow-up here. That means success in LLMs, more budget for SEO and guest posting. That's about it. Sums it up perfectly. Yes. But really, I have a customer, I obviously like very big enterprise company. We're consulting at ProServe, at the ProServe team at SEMrush. And we had exactly what I was talking about before, where there was like basically a certain blocker, and because we were like not semantically precise in describing this special concept about a product, and so we looked for the sources being used. So where are these answers being sourced from? We found 3 sites they actually already had a relationship with, and they just took money in their hands, went there and said, hey, we want to do a sponsored post. Basically, I mean, it turned out a little bit differently, but talking about exactly this specific concept with their product, semantically precise, and exactly what they're putting in there actually like 2 days later showed up in AI search. It's crazy. It works better than ever before. It works faster, better than in organic search. And this is super exciting. And this is what I love about that. You can actually tell the customers stuff like this, which sounds like completely edgy, right? And it works. And they were like, oh my God, give me more, And I think this is really the level of excitement that you really need to be like, okay, let's do more, it works, and let's grind it while it's hot.
Nice.
Yeah, as it really works. So talking about studies, there's also another study out, also friends of ours. And by the way, this is a shout out to Nitin Mancheda, greatest.
Nice.
Actually, I saw it, after I read the article, I actually saw, this Nitin, great article from him. And here, our friend David from Previsible.io, also great report. They have this State of AI Discovery report. They basically have a lot of customers, a lot of websites they're working with, and they have over 1.96 million LLM sessions within these customers. And they do like a study, and just let's just focus on the key findings. This is, I think, well enough. Super interesting. ChatGPT owns 84.2% of AI referrals. Yeah, also no other LLM is sending traffic in that in that mass, and even growing. Yeah, as it is even growing year over year. But of course, big caveat. It's what is it? 0.1 something.
1.3.
Yeah, 1.3% of traffic. So it sounds a lot, right? But it's not a lot. So that makes referral traffic from AI mode or stuff like this, even less, right? Obviously. This is also interesting. Copilot, 25% growth. Claude, almost 30% 13 times growth. Explosive expansion, really crazy. And I think this is really the theme for 2026. It's about distribution, right? We see Copilot. They're like launched on Office, and you have like millions of people using Office, and now we'll also use basically Copilot. Google is doing the same play. You just plug in Gemini everywhere. We just saw Gmail now being equipped with Gemini as well, right? As a Gemini is, it's being put everywhere where the eyes of the users are. And this is really the big game right now: distribution. How can I distribute my agent to just as many as touch points that I can? And I think we definitely see this with Copilot here already. And this is even, like laughable at what Microsoft still has in regards to properties where they can still plug it, the Copilot. So I will definitely, this is my my guess for 2026, Copilot will have a massive growth just by the immensely number of people using Google Office products. And this will be the big fight this year: distribution till every touch point has an agent that you can converse with.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Like, I don't know if you noticed this, but since yesterday, for me, Gemini is a lot better in Google Mail and in Google Sheets, like a lot better.
Yeah.
And I think a couple of days ago, Microsoft announced something similar, where they're stepping up the capabilities of Copilot in Excel. And so, first of all, yes, I think that will definitely affect the numbers, to your point.
Yeah.
And second of all, Copilot also announced that they're showing products directly in Copilot. So they're also adopting the direct checkout, which I'm going to be very curious to see if that will have, if that will have an impact on e-commerce or not. But yes, these integrations are moving forward, and these companies are really pulling the strongest cards that they have in their hands. Now, the one thing that I loved about the article here from David is the point that he made about the small size of traffic, right? He does acknowledge that referral traffic is not the thing, because LLMs are incentivized to retain users in the experience instead of sending them away. Yeah. But he does say that when you do get referral traffic, that is very, very high intent traffic that converts much better than regular traffic.
Yeah, the SEMrush calls this the educated click. Here, what emerging pattern we observed, though not directly measured in this study, is what we call the educated click. And this is exactly it, right? Also, you got recommended from an AI engine, and then it's like, okay, you educated already. Okay, I'm ready to buy, or something like this. Yeah.
Yes. And so to me, I have a hypothesis. Maybe it's more of a question. Okay. So look, you can say referral traffic from LLMs, mostly ChatGPT, is much smaller, but higher intent. Okay. Organic search traffic from Google, for now, is still the opposite, right? You have a lot of volume. It's shrinking, but you have a lot of volume, and you have low intent for most of the traffic. So my question is, like, is ChatGPT the predictor of where Google is going to go in the future, right? Is that what we can expect in the future, that little amount of traffic, but higher intent, or not? And so I think what's really interesting is not to measure referral traffic for companies out there, but to measure customers from these platforms and then compare, okay, could it be that in relationship to traffic, right? Like maybe we get a percent of all the visitors from organic search that turn into customers on Google, but on ChatGPT, maybe it's 50%, maybe it's 70%, right? So I think that is a number that a lot of companies are not paying a lot of attention to, because it's also harder to measure.
It's hard to measure. It's hard to measure. Also, I mean, like, of course, you can call all your customers and say, like, hey, how did you find us?
Yeah, exactly. Or you ask them when they sign up, right? Like maybe it's easier in B2B or something, or in e-commerce, we have like a follow-up survey. But I think that is the number to pay attention to.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. And by the way, what I also like to see this, your money or your life industries lead adoption. So we always had this, it's EAT, we got to be super careful if it's about, your money or your life. Now, more legal, more finance, more health. It's pretty crazy. Also, like everything is getting like plastered with AI overviews in AI mode. And what also, one more insight here, which I found quite interesting, that we also have a lot of pricing pages showing up. And of course, I mean, like people, search for pricing, search for alternatives for specific software, something like this, right? And obviously these AI engines will also pull up the pricing page. So I think the pricing page is a page we should really put more focus on, especially in regards to semantic precision, specific, as when I know my drivers, my blockers, put it on the pricing page, because this is getting pulled, right? And I think the best, by far is Apple. Go try to buy like an Apple MacBook or something like this. Like the buy button is like super short. They want you to scroll through, and they basically do Einwandbehandlung, also like every concern that you could have. I don't know what you'd say. Objections, like all the objections that you could have, like one by one, ba-bam, semantic precision, exactly what I wanted to say. You go all down, then buy it, right? And I think that's really perfect. That's really best practice. Use the pricing page normally, and not like, here's the pricing, blah, 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 but put your stuff on there with semantic precision. Feed the machine what you want the machine to tell other people. Yeah.
Totally, man. That's exactly the point, right? Like objection handling, so critical. Yeah. Also for your positioning. Again, I don't want to over promote my newsletter, but on Monday, I'm writing exactly about that point where there are studies.
On Friday, we're talking about this point. When you're in the future, I'm not. No.
On Friday, unless you watch this in the future, which is no, I'm not trying this. But on Friday next week, set your clock for 7 days from now. We're going to talk about like how you can train models about your positioning. And it's mostly about text, but we can discuss some specific studies, some papers from Cornell, from Columbia, from Harvard, where researchers tried stuff and could prove how they convince these models to position brands in a certain way. It's fascinating how well you can do
this. Wait, Monday. So I don't think you plugged your newsletter enough. So on Monday, there will be very interesting newsletter apparently coming out. Yeah, wow.
So Marcus, what are you doing?
Excited.
What are you doing next Friday?
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm here. Right on. Oh, I can't wait, man. Okay, what else do we have? Oh, by the way, I mean, Google is hiring interesting roles. Senior software engineer search, AI answer quality. Help the AI answers quality team deliver AI overviews to users hard and complicated queries on the SRP and in AI mode, also on the SERP and in AI mode. So yeah, sounds like an interesting job.
I'm not sure if I want that job, man.
No, really, I don't want that. But yeah, nice find, super nice find. What else do we have? Oh, by the way, this is a fantastic article. Yeah, Google was at risk of losing its dominance until it promoted this AI executive. We're actually talking about Josh Woodward. Has been, you probably saw him in videos and stuff like this. And this is a fascinating article about Josh Woodward. I mean, he's a great guy. Actually, he came on my radar when he was actually launched Notebook LM, or what turned into Notebook LM. And it's really incredible in what he has done in his 16-year tenure at Google. He was actually an intern. He started as an intern.
Product marketing intern. Marketing.
Crazy, right? In 2009. And now he's running Gemini and everything that comes with it. And I think he's done a terrific job. Obviously, the biggest thing, which we actually said it melted their servers. Yeah, our TPUs almost melted. That's when they were launching Nano Banana, obviously. By the way, I just want to point out, I mean, like, I love this, right? And like, oh my God, Nano Banana is such a big success, melted our servers. But just the thing, so much power, energy, water being used for people putting themselves, I don't know, into a action figure blister package or something like this, right? I mean, what the hell, right? I mean, like, it's so crazy, right? As they had to, yeah, here, Nano Banana has become so popular, it was overloading the company's infrastructure, forcing Google to place temporary limits on usage to ease the burden on its custom designed chips called tensor processing units. Holy shit. It almost gets melted for what? For people doing, make me an action figure,
I mean, like,
I don't know. I just want to put out there. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still excited. I'm still a nerd, but I don't know if this is right. I don't know if this is the right time. Yeah. All right.
It goes to show two things, right? First of all, like Google is the company probably with the best infrastructure in the world, right? Best web infrastructure in the world. So that says something. But it shows how innovation in AI can go viral very quickly, right? And I think that this will not be the last time.
Yeah. 5 billion images. Yeah. So great article about Josh Woodward. Really fascinating story at Google, what he has built, what it turned into. I can really recommend this article.
Just one quick call out about this. Yes. Like what stood out to me is how he removed bureaucracy. I think that's like such a, like Google turned into the underdog in this AI race when ChatGPT kind of came out and got a lot of hype. And the guy who fixed it not just because he's smart, right? And he has insane resources, but also because he really worked on removing bureaucracy. And that's what it takes to turn a big oil tanker like Google around. So just I wanted to call that out because I think that's so critical.
Yeah. And you also see how people are really like so critical for these companies. Yeah. As somebody else at the helm could have gone totally different. Then last but not least, Google, and as it's not least, I have 3 more. Google enters the portal wars. Holy shit, I saw this, and this I couldn't reproduce it. I haven't seen anything like updates to it. So Google was apparently testing this. I mean, like the Zillow SEO must be sitting there like, holy shit. Yeah. We saw this with cars. We saw this with jobs. Could be the next portal war coming up. Have you seen anything like this?
I haven't seen it in the wild, but I covered this in my Slack group a while ago. And it's interesting. Of course, like a lot of, people reach out to me like, hey, we're running a real estate platform in, say, Australia or so. Like, should we be worried? And I said, easy. Like, this is an early pilot. But essentially what's going on here is that, Google needs to keep growing. And it's harder and harder the bigger you become, right? Because if you want to keep the same growth rate every year or every month, it gets harder. So Google is looking to go deeper into industries that are very fruitful. And guess what? One of the most fruitful industries in the world is it's real estate, right? So they're trying to grab a bigger share of value creation in real estate. And let's see if this works out. It's an early pilot, but this looks like some pretty advanced design mockups.
Yeah,
and
absolutely. It will. And also request a tour right here. Okay, give me a call. It's all right there. So they're really like, hey, CPM. So hey, you have this house to sell. What's the CPA? How much is one tour worth to you? Like $50. Okay, and then we're gonna show it, until we have this. Also, this is really could be a big thing for Google.
Yeah, and again, this is an antitrust case a little bit in my mind. But since Google won last year's antitrust case, it's going to be very hard to set a precedent, even though they are a monopoly. But I think now that they have washed that off their hands, that lawsuit, they're going to be aggressive in many more verticals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can be aggressive, and and then you get sued, and then you get even if you lose, you do the next round basically. And while that is happening, not like a company like Zillow, but smaller companies are just bust. While you're still fighting in court, they just go bust because Google has much deeper pockets. Okay, don't paint the devil on the wall. This is like my tip of the week, of the month. I don't know, maybe already of the year. Metehan is just fantastic, and he built like a little tool. As it's right down here. Here's the tool. You should really go check it out. WebGraph Metehan AI. It's the CC rank checker. Such a smart kid. So it basically like crawls Common Crawl. And Common Crawl, isn't just like the website itself, it also like calculates this harmonic centrality, the HC rank, as well as the page rank. And he, built a big corpus of sites, and is basically really interested about the training data flow into these AI models, obviously Common Crawl being a very big part of this. And so this makes this tool so immensely useful. This is just fantastic. What do you say about Mitjan's tool?
Yeah, I mean, super smart guy. The reason that I love this is not just because he can recreate PageRank across all of these sites, but also because nobody is really looking at their presence in Common Crawl. But it plays such a big role when it comes to AI training. And also, I'm not sure if you want to be part of the training data or not, because some early analysis have shown and research that when you're part of the training data, you usually get no citation, no attribution, not even a mention, nothing. And LLMs are really bad at giving you any credit for your content. So I think this has to become part of like our ongoing monitoring, because all LLMs lean heavily on Common Crawl for training models. And so you need to know if you're in there or not, and what pages are in there, which are not.
As a great tool, try it out. It's really fantastic. And another tool I want you to try out, I mean, not you probably tried it out already. This is coming from Dejan. I mean, like he's putting so many great tools out there. And this is actually from Nick Ranger, also a G50 alumni. Great. Also, Nick is awesome. I love Nick. She's so great. And she actually built this tool, and I love this tool. You can also run it with your own domain, and you basically test how accessible URL is to search engines, AI crawlers, and other web bots. Lots of interesting insights. I mean, it's a small little tool, but very, very helpful. You should definitely give it a try. As well as this one. Yeah, don't forget. That's about it. And Christopher says, before you dismiss us for the weekend, what LLMs do you use for your daily work? For what reason? If you use more than one, which one do you find better suited for certain of your use cases? As for me personally, I'm using Gemini a lot more often these days than ChatGPT. I can't really do the distinction you ask me, Christopher, because most of the times I have a specific task, I will do it in both engines, as I will, or use even more, and then basically see what do I like more, or take basically what I got out of here and use this with the other engine or stuff like this. I did coding like this with Google AI Studio, which was so funny because I was using JetGDP and was saying, hey, I'm building this with Google AI Studio. So how can I do this? And so he was basically feeding me better prompts for Google AI Studio to have a better result. Also, this is how I work with it. Also, I don't have like a set process yet. I'm always like trying out everything and settle for the best. How are you different here?
So I use and pay for Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. I will say that these days I often just compare them. I'll often run the same prompt in 2 or 3 LLMs to see, okay, which one like is better or worse. I found that Gemini, not surprisingly, works really well when I need to cite Google Workspace documents like Sheets, Docs, and whatnot. I think actually the new ChatGPT 5.2 is a little underrated. I think it's actually much better than GPT-5 before. And what I use it a lot for is when I have projects, right? When I need more context. So that's what I'm missing from Gemini is projects, is more ways to provide context. I started doing like a morning brief with Gemini where I just ask it like, what are most important emails, calendar, like meetings and events, news, just like a quick morning brief. It's pretty good. And then Claude, I use more and more for coding and for building tools and all that kind of stuff. So they start to diverge in slightly different areas, which makes sense with Claude, right? It was always very technical and coding heavy. And then the big question is with between Gemini and ChatGPT. But again, I think ChatGPT has the better like features to actually be productive, and then Gemini for me is the best all-rounder model. So we'll see if Gemini or Google makes changes. Of course, there's Notebook LM. I use that a lot too. So yeah,
Yeah,
but I
just
right
saying
now for texting.
And by the way, Christopher, Gemini, most, sparring, grounding, perplexity, specific task like prompt compression, lossless, Claude, coding, because obviously, I mean, like everybody's coding with Claude. I think there's no real alternative. Or Google League and DOJ trial analysis. Nice. Awesome. Yeah. 1 minute before 5. I love it. We've done everything. So yeah. Next week, look out for that awesome new newsletter from Kevin coming to your mailbox on Monday, and on Friday we'll talk about it. And I actually really can't wait. I can't wait to read it. I can't wait to talk about you about it. It's going to be a very interesting show. Obviously, if you can speak German, we can already see each other on Monday in our daily dose of SEO at noon on Monday. That would be great. And if not, I hope to see you back here next Friday. Obviously, I hope to see you back here next Friday. Without you, it would be a little bit lonely. Thanks, guys. Have a nice weekend. Thanks, Hanseo. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks, everyone. Lothar, Christopher, everybody who's been here. Thanks so much for joining us. And hopefully see you next week. And now we would like to temporarily redirect you from work to the weekend. Happy optimizing.
Great job, Marcus, as always. Thank you all. Have a good weekend.
Bye. Keep on waving.